The third one, most importantly, is the driver. NASCARs weigh 3,500 pounds. They use that measure because everything is regulated from the United States of America. However, the chassis on all cars are identical. The differentials, a Ford 9-inch is identical, left-hand drive, and of course the braking system are going to be basically the same. 4-speed gearbox and running on controlled Goodyear tyres. The V8 engines powering these cars, whether Ford or General Motors, are restricted to 358 cubic inches. They run 130 octane fuel through a carburettor. And from the figures we're able to obtain from the dynos, around 650 horsepower seems to be the norm. NASCARs have no doors. The bodies are steel. A lot of loving care goes into these panels to make them as aerodynamic as possible to shift them through the wind. On the safety side of things, there's a lot of thought gone into that also. This window net protects the driver from any object that may get in the car during the race or attempt to do so. On the same token, stop his arm from coming out the window should he be involved in a collision. Each driver's seat is custom built for him. This particular seat features rib breakers on either side. The term's really a throwaway one because it's actually two wraparounds of the seat that keep the driver erect and feeling the car throughout the race. He's restrained in that seat by a 6-point harness, the sixth part of it being a sternum strap up here to stop belt spread. 4-speed gearbox sitting beside him, of course, is kept away from his leg with this extension on the right-hand side, and again, in the event of a collision, does not cause him an injury. In the event that he is in a crash and loses consciousness and needs assistance to be extracted from the car, the steering wheel has a removable pin, allowing it to be taken off and the driver to be gotten out easily. There's a honeycomb of bar work that goes throughout here to make it safe for the driver. There's an onboard fire extinguisher and also a brake bias adjuster. The cars themselves are tough, and that's what NASCAR racing is all about.
It certainly is, Ian Campbell.
The rest of them should have went out like those 6, but they said it was just maybe not their style of racetrack.
Well, the top drivers did in fact refuse to go out yesterday afternoon, which has made an unusual situation today. 53-year-old Tasmanian grandfather Denzel Mead, in only his second season of NASCAR racing, sits on pole position today. And last night, everyone was upset about it because Denzel went round and perhaps got his only pole that he'll ever get in his motor racing career. Denzel defended the situation with Ian Campbell earlier today.
No,
Just rear vision mirrors, Alan Grice, because he's going to need them in this first opening lap, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is, and so too the other guys that are behind him aren't used to road racing, but I think more power to them. The fact is that there was a racetrack and had rain on it. They had rain tyres, and the first 6 went out and qualified as they should have done. They are involved, after all, in motor racing, not crocheting, and they've done the right thing. More power to them.
Charlie O'Brien yesterday set the fastest lap in the trial, 1 minute 4.3 seconds. Charlie was anything but pleased when Denzel Mead broke the unwritten agreement between all the NASCAR drivers yesterday and went out and qualified for pole.
Oh, I think it's going to make the opening race.
It was Ron Goodman in the Commodore, followed by Paul Freestone in the Pontiac, then Kim Jane in the Pontiac, and then finally Walter Giles in the Chevrolet. They were the 6 who qualified yesterday.
Now here are the guys that took the points, of course. Max Dumsday is 7th. That is Barry Graham 8th. 9th is John Faulkner. 10th is Charlie O'Brien. Watch him try to charge that Thunderbird to the front. We'll see what happens. 11th, Ian Thomas in the Oldsmobile. 12th is Neville Lance. 13th is Gene Cook. Then Barry Blake. 14th, David Gruss is in the 15th spot. Tony Southwell is 16th, and Jim Richards 17th. 18th is Graham Smith. 19th, Adam Pay. 20th is the Robinson car. 21st is not Terry Byers. He has withdrawn from this event.
1 lap remaining now, 2 kilometres. This car's off the track, so we're now in the hands of the starter to see whether we get a start in this NASCAR championship. And they do. The green flag is out. And it's George Elliott on the outside of the track. Can't pull off Denzel Mead. And Mead, in fact, takes the lead through turn 1.
Look at traffic be no factor whatsoever. Here they come. Up through the first left-hander, down the second one. These are the NASCARs. They weigh 3,500 pounds. These men are glad gladiators as they manhandle these steel chariots around the second left-hander. And Elliott now wants to put a charge on Damsel Meade as they go to the first right-hander. Here comes Blake. Here comes O'Brien. They're the ones that cried, said it'd be trouble. I don't see any trouble. They're coming up through traffic smooth as a flitter.
And the explosions you hear, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, are the fireworks that are going off here at Eastern Creek this afternoon. There's no problem on the track whatsoever.
Hard on the binders as they come over that hill for the first time at speed. And we noticed that when I say binders, folks at home, I'm talking about brakes. Here is Charlie O'Brien working the gear shift, working the clutch. Look at him manhandle that steering wheel. Now, you've got to be in good physical shape. Alan Grice will tell you, you are really a physical gladiator when you battle one of these things for 200 or 300 miles. Right, Alan?
Yeah, indeed. They're very hot and sweaty things. And Charlie's already up behind the Valvoline cars. I think it's Graham.
Okay, George Elliott takes the lead. Denzel Meade, second position. Kim Jane in third. John Faulkner in fourth. And there's Charlie O'Brien.
Yeah, Charlie's moved through very well.
Sixth place.
Barry Graham is your fifth place car. No doubt about it. O'Brien is sixth. And then Maxie Dumpson, the champion, who is back there in the 8th spot. He should be up from Ian Thomas with a good run. He's back there in 10th tomorrow.
George Elliott doing a good job out in the lead.
Yes, he is.
Consolidating his position, putting down the seconds that count.
Talked to his brother up here in the booth prior to our telecast today. They may sew up this sponsorship for the year, and look at this challenge up through that corner. Now this is where you're man or mice, right, Alan? You've got to be a man if you're going to get through these corners and fight off traffic like he's feeling the pressure.
Yeah, he's got the pressure. He's got it all over the back of him.
Kim Jane all over the back of him now.
You know, Kim Jane is good on a road course. Don't let nobody fool you. This kid knows what he's doing. He says it's a bit different. Here they come down the straightaway. They'll reach 175 miles per hour. The American terminology, what is that, 201 Ks, John?
Yep, certainly is.
Gee willikers.
And look at the bodywork damage on the back of George Elliott's car. He's had a tap in the back as John Faulkner now comes through into second position.
But
the other back markers who elected not to qualify here yesterday, they are picking off traffic very easy.
Well, see, there it is. We haven't got many laps, and suddenly the race is back to where you thought it was going to be because of the dry times that we saw and the experience from the road race drivers. They've picked their way through. Nobody's crashed. Nobody's upside down. What were they going on about?
Well, Charlie O'Brien at the moment right on the back of Barry Graham. So we look at this enthralling dice for the lead.
Well, here's Faulkner coming up. He'll go into second at least, maybe even first. At the next braking area, I'd suggest that Faulkner will go through into first position.
Well, there's no doubt.
There's Denzel Meade's car off. So he was the pole sitter. He succumbed to the pressure back through the field. Charlie O'Brien now. He's again on the back of Barry Graham. Goes for the braking manoeuvre on the inside and pulls it off. That takes Charlie up into fourth place.
Brian won the race that Grice lost at the Surfer Paradise just a couple of years back because of a tire problem. I mean, he didn't really lose it. He punctured a tire coming for the white flag. Right, Grace?
Yeah, cost a lot of money.
Yeah, a bunch of money.
Yeah.
There's George Elliott. He's got Kim Jane all over him. I mean, Kim has eaten him alive, taking him home for dinner, and he just did so as Kim has gone around the George Elliott car, takes the lead. Elliott drops back to second, still showing some sheet metal damage. In third would be the Faulkner car. Fourth is Barry Graham. Fifth is Charlie O'Brien, and Max Dumsty is up to sixth.
Faulkner's actually hit the front last time round.
Yeah, Faulkner is now in the lead.
Kim Jane second. George Elliott's third, although George is having another shot back. Charlie O'Brien's very close behind, then Dumsney, and I think that'd be Barry Graham.
Well, Faulkner's had some lap time, and there is a car number 02. Hard lick into that wall.
David Gross in the Oldsmobile Cutlass.
And guess where it is? The same place.
Exactly. Right through that area that we said would be very dangerous. Look at that.
Yeah, and it'll be I'd say it'll be a pace car job because that car's leaking coolant and probably oil across the track. There's also debris scattered across there. I'd suggest we'll probably see a pace car out.
Now there's a pace car lurking there, in fact, waiting to come out almost at the point of exit.
This will mean some kitty litter, some stay dry, as we call it back in the States, that has to go down where that fluid is. And there's a car that's got extensive damage, and that's what we didn't want to see a lot of.
Yeah, he's belted that wall hard, and you can see a lot of debris on the track, a lot of bits and pieces of steel and things lying about, and that could be cutting tyres down too for a lot of punctures and blowouts.
Now that's happened on lap 5 of a 20-lap race, so plenty of time to bring
the inside of Falkland. There's no yellows down there, so it's
that's
quite a legitimate move.
because we should have a full course yellow right now with that car sitting where it is. They know it's there. They know there's fluid leaking. And John, that could make for a bad situation. I think the officials of NASCAR need to see a full course yellow right now and not wait.
Well, I guess we're running under a cross here of regulations of road racing, because you've got a displayed yellow flag there. You've probably got a waved yellow flag where the car is, although
The car's gone.
the car's
gone. Somehow, miraculously, just as John Faulkner got through.
They pushed it.
Yeah, that's fine. They pushed it out of the way. Well, that's good.
Well, that's taking an awful chance, though. There's still fluid there. Should another car get in it? There's the car.
But it's also snuck up on Faulkner, because Kim James got the message, I guess, from his crew on lost effect of his rear tyres. Now, that's probably because he's had to charge hard, and he's charged perhaps too hard, coming through into the lead, and now he's lost the effect of his tyres, and Kim's able to, certainly appears to be able to hold him.
Absolutely. And, you know, for the fans at home, too, Alan, that are not familiar with these NASCARs here on this particular road circuit, it's no different tires whatsoever that they're running today than they run at the Thunderdome on an oval. These are slick tires with no tread in them whatsoever. They're Goodyear slicks. You thump them, they're like a watermelon. It's a tire within a tire. They have the safety liner inside of them, which if one of them was to explode, the outer liner, of course, the inner liner would hold them up to keep them out of the wall or to let them gain control.
Faulkner's definitely got a problem. He's slipping back off Kim. In fact, you see Kim starting to slide around now, so he'll have to steady it up. And also a bit of smoke, a bit of hazy smoke coming out of the back of Faulkner's car.
That's Charlie O'Brien now in the BP Fisco car in third position. He's 3.42 seconds behind Faulkner and closing fast. Meantime, Jim Richards, who started in 17th position, is now up into 5th place in the motor race, and he's only 11 seconds off the pace. So Richo's starting to pour on the pressure. We're riding with Charlie O'Brien.
And notice the gauges. Notice his tack and everything. And he's not. He shows his fuel pressure gauges, everything. Or Charlie, of course, has to look at. And he's running with his shield up. He don't have that shield down. He's just getting a little fresh air and comfortable. Right now, O'Brien is around Faulkner. O'Brien goes to second.
Yep.
Now here's a guy yesterday, and there's one off course there. Just briefly, that looks like
Max Dumsney.
That's a champion, the reigning NASCAR champion here in Australia.
Well,
but he's back on course very quickly.
Greasy tyres. I think they're finding trouble with these greasy tyres. Another thing to consider, we know that we had a lot of rain yesterday afternoon. What that does is clean out the pores of the bitumen, makes the tyres heat up faster because they don't have that smoother surface to run on. All the dirt and rubber's been washed out of the track, makes the track abrasive, makes the tyres overheat a lot easier when the track's very green like that.
And it is green. There was no doubt when it started, lots of green racetrack earlier today here at Eastern Creek, and is when these NASCARs hit the. That is a heavy monster that these guys are manhandling out there.
Yeah, they're very heavy cars. But Charlie's doing it very well. Kim also doing a very good job. He's just got to keep it straight. If it isn't, if I'm right, and these tyres are going off and they're losing effect, but looking at their lap times, it certainly would suggest that's the case. It's going to be a little bit of use your head here.
True. Well, in one lap, John Faulkner has dropped from the lead back to 5th position. He's now 16, almost 17 seconds off the pace of the leaders. Jim Richards is up to 4th.
41 car loops it around off the asphalt, off the course, into the dirt. And we're going to take a look at it again for you fans at home.
This is John Stepanek, and you can see exactly what happened, Alan Grice.
Yeah, the rear's locked up on the way in, and round it goes.
There is Jane in the wall.
Whoa.
Kim Jane, the leader, has smacked the wall, spinning around, and he's got some extensive damage to the fuel cell area back in the rear compartment.
Yeah, that's hit pretty hard. I guess he's right out of that. Well, he's got it moving, and maybe he can get it back, but it looks pretty short in that corner. He's just lost it. There again, the rear tyres. I'd suggest there's a tyre problem there. The rear tyres, that's purely on acceleration there. And then bang into the wall. Well, that's not too bad. It's not too good, but it's not too bad.
He may be able to continue. If they knock that thing back out, he's got a little bit hanging off the rear end.
It purely depends on whether his fuel cell's been punctured, because that's where it sits.
Just as Stepanek had spun around, here come Kim Jane out of the last corner number 12, and smacks it himself after a loop.
Well, that puts Charlie O'Brien now into the lead. George Elliott in second. Jim Richards in 3rd position. So Richo from 17th position moves his way up through the field. You're with the race leader, Charlie O'Brien, right now. He's 5 seconds in front of George Elliott.
That's a car that Charlie O'Brien came to the United States, bought off the Chad Little racing team. You may remember Chad Little. He's now driving for Mark Rippon, the quarterback for the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, right.
So Charlie O'Brien bought this car off the Chad Little Racing team, brought it back to Australia. Nothing was right on the car. It wouldn't handle the first couple of races, but they seem to have it very smooth here at Eastern Creek.
Yeah, the car looks good. The car looks good and solid and balanced. And isn't it great to see a major company, a major sponsor get involved in NASCAR like that? It's bodes very good for the future of NASCAR racing.
In fact, O'Brien and I bought not one car, but two, because he bought the Davey Allison road car as well, which he still hasn't put together in Australia.
That's correct.
But that car is a square car. That is, it's not biased for oval racing, and it's set up particularly to run on circuits like Eastern Creek.
He bought that from the Robert Yates stable, and of course he bought it before Davey was killed this year in a tragic helicopter crash at Talladega, Alabama. There is another
Dumsney off again.
Off again.
Yep.
Same area, isn't it?
I think so, and I think I'll bet money he went off tail first. I think the rear tyres are overheating.
Now they're working on the Kim Jane car. Hopefully, let's try to go to Ian Campbell if we can, as soon as we can, over in the pits. Not right yet, but and get an update on some of the work that's going on over there. We see another one of the Valvoline cars sitting on pit road also, but they're working on Kim Jane's car.
Jim Richards overtakes George Elliott and moves up into second position, and he's now only 3.4 seconds behind Charlie O'Brien. So the race is right off.
Lap before he knows if the thing is even going to stop straight. But it looks pretty good. That's only external bodywork. I think it'll be okay.
I don't think he hurt the fuel cell at all, which is sitting right over in the middle of the car that they use. And by the way, for the fans at home that don't know what a fuel cell is, should that car overturn,
Also comes to a premature halt at the side of the track in the Buick.
we keep this up, the attrition rate is going to eat us alive. Let's go down to the pits, where we understand Ian Campbell is standing by with further update.
Aren't right, and the car isn't straight after that crash into the wall earlier, and he's off again.
Well, he's trying to get it refired. It doesn't look like. Here he is locking it up. And those back tires never locked up, so you were right, John, no brakes.
And of course, under the NASCAR rules, he can't work on that car between the races this afternoon. He's actually going to have race time to work on those, on whatever the problem is.
If I was him, I'd come in and do it right now. He's got a 20-lapper ahead of him, and the money doesn't come up till the last
Look
15.
at this! It's O'Brien and Richards nose to tail down the chute with 4 laps remaining. Car 44, that's Adam Pay, waves them through. Look at the traffic all around him. Jim Richards threads his way through, almost gets cut off by Pay, and gives O'Brien just a momentary respite as they come up the back straight.
They're side by side as they go up that back straight. Well, that short chute. Now, let's see if Richards can really. He's wanting O'Brien bad. O'Brien's in traffic through that second left-hander. There's a shot from high above Eastern Creek. You can see now O'Brien trying to pull away, but Richards gets another one of the back markers. He's headed after O'Brien.
There was a couple of lucky breaks there for Charlie. He just was able to pull a few yards away, but looks like Jimmy is be on the charge and be able to get back. Look at those cars bounce over that hill with the wheels in the air. It's a great sight, isn't it?
Alan, would those chicanes, those little bumps, will they hurt these tires? Could that be part of the problem?
No, they won't hurt the tyres. The tyres just like a bit of air underneath them sometimes, Bill.
They want to, in other words, get a little air breather. Huh?
Yeah, sure. But look at Charlie is really careful and to keep the car straight coming on there. He was really trying not to get it sideways, because sideways just generates more heat.
John, you can see where Jim Richards come from.
Well, yeah, 17th position on the grid, now through to second position. Beautiful driving, nice and smooth, nice and relaxed, worked his way through the field, set himself up now so that even if he finishes in second position to Charlie O'Brien, he'll be on the front row of the grid for the second of our 3 NASCAR races here today. And that's exactly where Jim Richards would like to be. 5 times Tui's 1000 Bathurst winner. This man is an absolute sensation in any car you put him in. And Alan Grice, the only thing I guess you'd like better this afternoon is to be in that car yourself.
Yeah, I've won some races in that car, and I would have liked to have been here today, certainly. But I've got another bit of a job that's been taking up a lot of time, John.
Parliament.
Yes.
Called politics, I believe.
The honourable member for Broadwater with us in the studio this afternoon.
Absolutely. Charlie O'Brien about to get cut off, guys. About to be cut off through that corner. And I mean, literally, luckily, he didn't damage that car.
Well, the Denzel doesn't have rear vision mirrors that work terribly good, but everybody knows that, so that's fine. You just give him a bit of room. Charlie just did that. He did the right thing. Hasn't pushed into the guy and therefore brought the guard over in his own tyre. And I guess that evens it up for the couple of bad balks that Jimmy got just shortly.
1.3 seconds now is the gap from Charlie O'Brien to Jim Richards. Then Max Dumsey is maybe 20 seconds in arrears. What is happening? Oh, that's... Yeah, Walter Giles is blowing the smoke there in car 91.
And we get the word that, of course, the 41 car, and that is John Stepanek, is about to be black flagged. For what reason from NASCAR, we don't know. We are on the 19th lap, working it right now. Will be the white flag when the leaders come back. O'Brien gets back here. He'll be looking at the white flag, John.
Walter Giles there blowing a lot of smoke and hopefully not dropping oil all over the race line as he makes his way back to the pits.
I think he probably is.
Well, you'd hope he's not, wouldn't you? You'd hope he'd pull off to the side. There he goes.
Right now, we got cars all the way
later.
around this racetrack, gentlemen. It's going to take us a while to get them all in.
White flag comes out now. Here's the race for the lead between Charlie O'Brien and Jim Richards. You can see the two of them in your shot. One shot, the two of them, well, almost nose to tail anyway, but certainly less than 1.1 seconds between them.
There's O'Brien.
And only 3/4 of a lap to go now. Charlie O'Brien holding the lead. Will Jim Richards have a demon go at him? I think the gap's too big, Alan Gross. What do you think?
Oh, certainly, particularly with the other races coming today. But bear in mind, there was a lot of oil around there. Maybe somebody can get pretty sideways in that. But I think both of these guys now are going to be using their head. They're in first and second position. That'll do. You can see Charlie's easing up. That'll do, first and second. Maybe Jim says not that'll do.
Oh, Richard.
We've got these other races
He is on him. He is on him. Jim Richards is there. He has nailed him right down to the rear deck lid. Here comes Richard. Look to the inside. Look to the outside. Float the car. They touch. The crowd is going wild in Eastern Creek.
Go, Richo. It's top stuff. But
what a battle there for a few moments out of the corner. And here comes O'Brien, who really shut the barn door to win this one.
Well, I think Jim Richards didn't really intend to win the race at that episode, but I think he really intended to let Charlie O'Brien know that he could have if he'd wanted to.
Let me say this, that if that was the last race of the last lap of
Racing at Eastern Creek is Charlie O'Brien in the BP Visco Ford Thunderbird, from Jim Richards in the Valvoline Pontiac, from Max Dumsney in the Oldsmobile, from Ian. It waves and they're racing, and Charlie O'Brien charges into the lead. Jim Richards right beside him on the outside. O'Brien looks like he's got the corner covered. Richards doesn't give up, nosing up alongside O'Brien. What can happen up here as they hit the brakes for the first time?
Here comes Ian Thomas right alongside. He'll drop kick somebody back into fourth. He'll come up to third, side by side, wheel to wheel. Somebody's got to give. O'Brien takes the low road, goes to the inside. He gets the lead. Then comes Richard in second. Ian Thomas trying to maintain that number 3 spot. It's a wild battle.
Max Dumsey also in it in car 5. And it is just sensational racing, isn't it? O'Brien now takes just that little bit of a security gap on Jim Richards, which is what you'd expect from Richo, wouldn't you? When he lets everything settle down and the tyres get a bit warm, Alan Grice.
Yes, he will. Yeah, he'll just hold it together. And certainly some action from the back with Faulkner, and I'm pretty sure it's Barry Graham. There's all sideways coming through the flip-flop. But those cars are both moving through the field. They'll come into reckoning in a couple of laps.
Well, Barry Graham has had a lot of seat time in the last 12 months. He's been over in America working with Richard Petty at Charlotte Motor Speedway. One car is off the course, up through the left turns near the S's. Well, it looks like the 08 car,
That's
John.
Graham Smith.
Anyway, Graham has had a lot of seat time on the ovals overseas, but no time on a road course. So he's got to learn this track just like the rest of them.
Race order. Charlie O'Brien leads. Only half a second between him and Jim Richards, as you can see there, as Richards noses down under brakes. 44
Adam
goes
Pay.
off Adam Pay.
Adam Pay's off. Faulkner is also charging through the field. Super T10 gearbox and all.
Pay's coming right back onto the asphalt, and it's interesting to hear Alan Grice say that Faulkner is charging through the field with that unusual transmission. We all know a Jericho is the best transmission to use on this facility.
Yeah, especially made for this type of racing, much stronger. But there again, having said much stronger, he broke second gear in it in the first race.
Adam Pay, when he went off the track, then threw away 6th position and is now at the rear of the field.
Max Dumsty back there in the 3rd spot. We're getting a report from around the track. There is a certain area from some of our camera position that some raindrops are beginning to fall. Now this is a better than a mile and a half around in miles, but it's over. You can see the rain beginning to pebble on the windshields, guys.
Yes, down this front straight, no sign of rain at all, but just over the back of the circuit, it's obviously a very localized shower, and it doesn't look like it'll move through looking from here, from our vantage point.
I agree with you, Alan. We're going to stay green, there's no doubt. And besides, it'd take a whole lot of rain to slow things down. They'll keep the course dry like you're running as it is, John.
Yeah, we're now down to lap times of 1 minute 20 for the slower competitors, but the faster guys, we're getting reports of them coming through at about 6s, which is about right at this stage, isn't it, Alan, with reasonably full tanks?
Yes, about 2 seconds off qualifying, but I think
Whoa!
Back into the wall.
81 car, hard slide.
Peter Galvin in the Pontiac Grand Prix.
And he hit that wall a nail and a half backwards as he went into it, ricocheted, but he's all right. He's moving around in the car. Probably just hurt his pride a bit, huh, Alan?
Well, we saw Ian Campbell's O'Brien. Absolutely sensational stuff.
Takes the lead
Yes.
away from O'Brien for the first time, and O'Brien's not an easy guy to get around, is he, Alan?
No, certainly not. He just went a little wide. Jim saw the hole, straight in. There was no contact, no touch. It's early days, and we'll look at both cars off the ground there, completely off the ground over the top of the hill.
Airborne over the top of the hill. In 5th, as we said, Ian Thomas. Riding 6th is Gene Cook. George Elliott is back up to 7th. Kelly Jane is in 8th. Running 9th is Robinson. 10th is Barry Graham, and that's the top 10.
Oh, and now the battle for 3rd position between Max Dumsey and John Faulkner. Just look at Faulkner now starting to throw out the challenge to the reigning NASCAR champion.
Faulkner's in the Newline car as they come down to the start-finish line. Here, Faulkner just getting right back. Oh, O'Brien wanted to get back into the lead. He made a move down on the inside of Richards, but not too many drivers other than a Dale Earnhardt.
It looks as though Faulkner's had a bit of a tap, yes, and he's through into 3rd. Had a bit of a tap in the rear. It looks, that rear left guard doesn't look terribly pristine, but and look at him close going over the flip-flop. I mean, he really picked up a lot of yards there. He's certainly on a charge.
Faulkner is the man who's wound up at the moment. In front of him, these other 2 drivers are stroking it along. Very fast, mind you, but stroking it along as 81 tries to get back into the race. Peter Galvin. 14 is also off. Neville Lance in the Ford Thunderbird. Slumber King.
He's telling those fire crews, don't hold me in.
Yellow's going into the corner.
So that's going to hold them in single file through here.
Yeah, they can't pass while those yellow flags are being displayed at them.
But as soon as they pass the incident itself, then it's open go again.
There's Faulkner. We're getting, of course, a view of his car, the Newline car. That is an Oldsmobile that he's driving, and the car's just handling, and it seems to be working excellent. I mean, to change from a Jericho to another transmission, are you kind of surprised, Alan?
Yes, I am. I'll be more surprised if it does this 20 lapper and then another 15. But then this is motor racing; anything can happen. But that box is not as strong as the box that he replaced.
Faulkner looking for any way he can find through Charlie O'Brien.
Yes, he's not content to sit. He wants to be second, then he wants to be first. And he doesn't see any reason in resting the tyres, and I tend to sympathise with him a bit. It's a motor race after all, not a reliability trial.
John, does that Thunderbird look a little bit bigger?
The inside.
Very decisive and doesn't lock up. Very decisive move. That was a good move.
I thought O'Brien was coming back up to give him a tap, but couldn't catch him. Faulkner just hit the throttle and went on.
I'm sure it went through Charlie's head.
Talking about the Thunderbirds, Bill Elliott made it quite famous and quite popular back in America when he had the $3.5 million year and won all the bonuses. That's what made that particular Thunderbird be an acey-deucey race car in NASCAR, and it still is today. O'Brien is proving that, and a lot of the Australian teams are proving that with the Thunderbirds, but Pontiacs are strong, so are the Oldsmobiles and the Luminas in this field.
See, look at Faulkner's close right up on Jim. I admire the approach that Faulkner has to his motor racing. There's no points, there's no money. As we said, there are grid positions on this race, but it's a motor race, and Faulkner's out there to motor race, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to take a position any time he likes, and I admire that. I think that's he's a racer.
0.3 of a second now separates John Faulkner from Jim Richards. Another 1.01 back to Charlie O'Brien. Then comes Max Dumsney, then George Elliott.
And O'Brien can't do nothing with Richards, no doubt about it. Richard is strong, so is, I mean, I can't get over how strong Faulkner is in this second leg of 20 laps here around the Eastern Creek facility. Now, Charlie O'Brien's tires seem to want to slide with him a little bit more, Alan. Don't look like they're getting the bite they used to get through the corners.
No, it's obviously got something to do with his setup of the car too, I think. There's no doubt that all the cars are losing a little bit of effect, although you look at that lap time from Jim Richards on lap 9, and you would certainly wonder, but then Jim has been in the position playing it from the front, looking after his tyres. Now we're looking back through the field a little more. There's certainly plenty of activity there.
This is Ron Goodman with car 17, Tony Southwell right on his tail. Ron Goodman in 05. And then, of course, we come back here to John Faulkner, who's starting to get very much mixed up with these back markers.
Now comes the traffic. Now comes, this is a little bit like chalk lotto when you come up to some of this lap traffic.
You better be throwing the dice too, because any one of these guys could cut you off and cause you to have an accident, John.
Yes.
And it's very close. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
They can knock you right out of it just like that. Field continues to wind, continues to manipulate this facility here at Eastern Creek, with Richards leading, Faulkner second, O'Brien is third, Max Dumsney is fourth, fifth is George Elliott. Good run for Elliott, who had problems in that first 20-lapper. Barry Graham is sixth, seventh is Kim Jane, eighth is Gene Cook, Ian Thomas is ninth, Graham Smith up to 10th.
Well, there was a perfect example of what Alan was saying there when Southwell locked up going into the left-hander and went straight ahead with Faulkner on the outside of him, and Faulkner had to take a wide line just to avoid the potential of the two cars touching.
He's averaging 111 kps per.
Jim now.
Here we go.
He could have a go on the way into this corner, or try for a slip on the way down, because I don't think he's missing on power. No, he should hang back and just come at Jim through this corner, slipstream him all the way down. Jim won't crush him up against the wall.
Well,
no, he'll take him to within 3 thou of the wall, but Jim won't actually crush him into the wall.
but look at this. The Richards car has the grunt down the chute, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it
Because
does.
he doesn't.
But here he comes.
Here he comes.
Fastest part
Out
of
of
the
He's
racetrack.
underneath, yeah. Good pass.
And a new race leader, it's John Faulkner using the wrong gearbox, having had all sorts of problems in the first round, but still John Faulkner doing it on sheer horsepower and sheer internal fortitude.
He's gone
Too wide.
Jim's back
underneath
in.
him.
Yep.
Now that's what you call flat tracking. Hear them manhandle those tires. They squeal, lock them down. I mean, they literally put the pressure on those tires from that 3,500 pounds of weight, 2,000 kilos. Those guys were manhandling those machines.
And Alan Grice, you'd say that what happened there is after the brakes did all the work that they could, simply Faulkner didn't have enough front left in the gearbox to be able to use compression to pull himself down.
Yeah, and he just went in a little hard, slid a little wide, and Jim moved straight inside the apex. But Faulkner set up for exactly the same pass again. No, he's not.
No, he's got it.
He's well held. Yeah,
got it. Well done.
Okay, now he's got to just curl it, because that rear right tyre is now very hot after a slide like that. He's got to spend at least a lap being very straight, very clean, and then come back at Jim again.
14 laps down, 6 remaining in this race. So about a lap now of respite before Faulkner can again throw out the challenge. Charlie O'Brien, 5.5 seconds behind Faulkner. Will he take the advantage to try and close up a little bit on this lap?
We'll find out what Faulkner's going to do, and Jim Richards. Richards back out front. Faulkner goes wide in that corner. O'Brien just playing the waiting game. There will be a 15-lap segment after this 20 lap. There'll be 5 to go in this one when they come back to the start-finish line. But as Alan said, Faulkner will cool those tires down. Once he gets those Goodyears cool, he can make a run back on the Richards car before this one's over.
Richards just so smooth. Same line every lap, lap after lap. He really has this racetrack ironed out.
Yes, no, he's very consistent, and that's a sign of a top driver, a guy that hits the same spot every time, but depending on the condition of his car and the track, can change that line and then still hit that spot every time. Almost like a golf swing, you know, it's got to be the same every time, except mine isn't.
Over the dogleg, and he's alongside Richards once again, down the inside, and takes over the lead.
He hung back, cooled the tyres, and then a little bit of a balk for Jim, and he's attacked straight in there. Now let's see him come down the straight.
They just lapped the ninth place car in the field, Ian Thomas. Now that's doing something. Here's that battle.
Richards back
Faulkner,
on the inside.
Richards side by side. They touch, they brush. They're downhill. They're coming to the flat bottom of the straightaway.
Jimmy's waving his fist at him.
They are really upset at one another.
Yeah, Jim's waving the fist.
That's very unusual for Jim to get himself that angry, isn't it, inside a motor car?
Yes, it is.
But Faulkner holds the lead now as they come up to the stop corner. Now remember, Faulkner's got a crook gearbox. He can't use the gearbox to give himself any sort of retardation. He must go wide. Yes, he does. Richards goes underneath him, side by side.
They touch again.
And then again.
Again they rub sheet metal door to door.
Richards won't give way. Richards could have backed off there because Faulkner had the inside run, but there was no way Richards was going to give way to him.
And another lap car coming up, I I guess I hope he zigs at the right time and doesn't zag.
Through that chicane, they're about to lap another back marker.
It's Ron
Richard,
Goodman.
all of a sudden, Faulkner and Richard, they both go single file by the back marker. Here comes Faulkner up alongside Richard. He's going to try it on the outside. Gets a wheel alongside as they make this corner. They touch again.
41 is the car now in front. That's John Stepanek. I guess panic is the operative word as he looks at his rear vision mirror and sees those two cars coming through. Now Faulkner looks for a way through. It'll be down the end of the straight this time, Alan, coming out of the draft. Can he do it?
I don't think he will. He'll try Jim under brakes at the end of the straight, and this time maybe won't go wide and let Jim through for the third time during this race.
Take a listen to this. They're working the 18th lap. When they get back to the start-finish line, white flag will be out there in heavy traffic, guys.
Oh, they're blocked in, yeah.
This traffic can do anything to them. Oh, look at Richard, just threads his way straight through them and takes Faulkner with him, unfortunately for Richards.
Some magnificent camera work from high above Eastern Creek gives us the vantage point to watch these two, Richards and Faulkner, battle for 1 and 2. They're trying to settle this 20-lapper to see who will start on the point for the final 15 laps for the big dollars on this delightful Sunday afternoon in Australia.
Gene Cook now is the driver in front. Faulkner locks up everything at the back. Cook slightly balks Faulkner, only slightly, but just enough. And Richards brushes the outside of the track using all the bitumen and then just a little bit more as they come down to take the white flag. 2 kilometres remaining at Eastern Creek.
Here comes Faulkner.
Can he do it?
Well, I'm sure he's going to have another shot. He'll pull him up.
Yeah, the tyres have gone off for Faulkner.
Yeah.
He just can't make them work. And I'd say that's the motor race.
Gone again.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Very
have,
loose.
He doesn't have time to cool him down either.
No, he doesn't.
Alan said.
Yeah.
So that's going to put him out of contention for the win.
Yeah, even in the melee that's been going on, even in the racing they've been doing, Richards has just been the smoother of the two competitors.
Oh, yes, no
and he's been conserving his rubber just that little bit more.
Yes, he has.
Richard is about to lap the 7th place car of George Elliott, number 55.
And you've got to ask, will Elliott in the Optus car say yes and let Richards through?
Which he has.
Checkered flag. Whoa, Faulkner's trying it. He slides that car, dirt tracking it out of the final turn.
Those tyres are hot.
The checkered flag comes out. Jim Richards does it. John Faulkner goes through in second place, 1.5 seconds in arrears. Sensational racing from the two of them. Jimmy Richards wins the second heat.
Did you see the dent and the damage in the side of Richards' car?
Which one?
I mean, there's so many. Look at this. There's a tire grip. There's a dent. They're up alongside each other. I hope they're not shaking fists at one another.
Well, I'd say you're just sort of deciding whether they're going to have 2 sugars or 1 sugar in their coffee together when they get out of the car.
I thought it was 2 beers still. Charlie O'Brien is third, 11.81 seconds.
Behind the wall, hits down pit road. We're at the length of 2 football fields, 200 yards away from the start of the final 15 laps.
Crowd on its feet in the stands. The green flag waves. It's Jim Richards on the inside, Max Dumsney on the outside. Charlie O'Brien in the second row of the grid tries to force his way through. Can't do it. It's Dumsney into the lead.
And here comes Kim Jane right up through the pack, slides into the 5th spot. He'll take over 4th. Looks like he wants to gun up into the 3rd. Battle O'Brien. O'Brien has no room to get by these cars.
O'Brien now up into second place. Dumsney falls back into 3rd. Kim Jane challenging him on the inside. It's Jim Richards in the lead. Meantime, John Faulkner is back in 20th position.
Kim Jane goes up into 3rd. He's into the windows of these NASCARs. O'Brien is in the number 2 spot. The rest of the field, we see George Elliott coming through along with, back here's Barry Graham. They've got to work their way up through that pack to get to the front.
Remember, the money, the glory, everything, the points is all resting on this 15-lap race. So it's winner take all.
What a shame it is that Faulkner had to start from the back. He's, I don't know exactly where he started, actually. I think he didn't start at the back. I think he started about halfway up the field. But we've certainly got a race in 2, and
O'Brien
O'Brien's out and in on the inside. Yeah, more power. Yep.
Next to the inside, takes the number 1 spot. O'Brien's got the Thunderbird out front, but will he keep it there? There's a lot of them back in the pack who would like to see different. One of those guys is Ian Thomas. He's headed up into the top 5.
And remember that tiredness must enter into it. O'Brien has had 15 laps of the Oscar Championship in which to relax. Jim Richards is hot and sweaty straight out of the Oscar.
So switch those front 2. Richards is in 2nd. O'Brien leads. Dumsney's in 3rd. Back in 4th will be Barry Graham. 5th is Kim Jane. A great run for a damaged car aerodynamically. 6th is Ian Thomas. George Elliott's right there with him.
Oh, Charlie O'Brien is really wound up, isn't he? He's just working that big Ford Thunderbird.
Well, Charlie went out yesterday and just this morning and just rolled a couple of one set of tyres in. He didn't put any hard laps on them, just got a new set ready. And I know they're on the car, and I think Midgley's done the same. Faulkner is in 10th position, and I think he'll probably be 8th or 7th when he comes around past the judge this time.
Well, they realize the big dollars are all lying ahead at the end of this event. A couple cars just coming through. There's the battle between Ian Thomas and George Elliott. They just come into the first left-hander. Meanwhile, O'Brien tries to pull away from Richards. I don't think he's going to do it.
Richards using all the track and trying to conserve the car as much as he possibly can in these opening stages. When he does make his move, he'll put a lot of pressure onto the tyres. When he does so, the move has to be perfect.
Yeah, Faulkner picked up 2 parts.
Oh, George Elliott off the track in the Optus car. What a shame.
Well, that'll make it 3. That will put Faulkner into 7th position this time round. At worst, he may even pick up Ian Thomas.
Looked like he got it off into the marbles, and of course, if we can see a replay if we got it. However, when you get in them marbles, you're in deep trouble. But George Elliott is back into the event. He's pulled back on course and is back into the wars. That will drop him back to 7th. Ian Thomas moves up to 6th. Kim Jane is up to 5th. Barry Graham is your 4th place car.
And a huge dice, in fact, between Max Dumsney and Barry Graham, the 2 Valvoline teammates, as they come side by side here down the main straight.
And then 2 cars back is Faulkner, so he's got some trouble to get past these teammates, because they, as well as racing each other, they won't be going that hard to knock each other off the road, but they'll make it very hard for Faulkner to get through. Well, I think he may have just picked one of them up.
He may just pass Kim Jane, I think. So he may have picked up one of those spots.
Jane, in fact, is in front again, is he not?
He is.
Yes.
Kim Jane has pulled up and passed one of the Valvoline cars, and now Faulkner's going to have to work the other Valvoline.
Meantime, Charlie O'Brien and Jim Richards continue to work their way away from this pack, and that must be of huge concern to Faulkner.
And Jane, looks down the inside and there's a touch. And then Faulkner uses that to pick the both of them up. Faulkner will have a run at both of these guys down the straight this time.
That's a 3-car battle, gentlemen, for the 3rd spot, unless we're wrong. But 3rd or 4th, that is the Kim Jane car, the Faulkner car, the Barry Graham car. And let's give Kim Jane a call. He backed out of the throttle, kept from spinning that other car. He could have spun him all over the rack.
Faulkner got a good run out of the corner.
Looks for the way through, can't do it. Faulkner's now done it. He's now up into the 4th position.
And that's a great run through. He's got Barry Graham in front of him. I'm sure he'll get over the top of Barry Graham in 1 or 2 laps. Then he's got, I guess, 10 laps left and about 5 seconds in front of him to hook onto the front 2.
I want to hear a little interesting humor. Guess where Barry Graham's daughter's spending her honeymoon? Her and her new husband, who is a pilot.
Tell us, Bill.
Here at the racetrack. Amazing now to watch Dad run in a NASCAR event.
Well, I guess if you want to feel the earth move, this is the place to do it, isn't it?
Here goes a pass down the inside.
And the pass down the inside. And now it's John Faulkner. Just making it look so easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Faulkner just moved that car anywhere. Now remember, he's got that gearbox in that car. That's not a Jericho. But me and Alan Gray, I mean, it's a very tricky gearbox. It's not as good as a Jericho, but it's performing mighty well right now.
It certainly is. And once again, he used the superior speed that he's got over that S flip-flop on the back of the circuit. He used that speed to get a run at Barry Graham. It was all over coming into the corner.
6.1 seconds now separates John Faulkner from Jim Richards in front of him, and there's an open track within that 6 seconds, and as you can see there, the 2 leaders being balked a little bit by slower traffic as they come round the slow corner. Still Charlie O'Brien in the lead, still Jim Richards stalking him manfully.
I want to know if Jim Richards has anything left for Charlie O'Brien. He'll have to show it in the next 5 or 6 laps, because we're going to be approaching in this 15 laps. The halfway is less than 3 laps away.
Well, Richards is going to be getting the word from Dick Midgley that Faulkner is now starting to close on them. As soon as he knows that, he knows he's got to get through O'Brien. Otherwise, it'll become a 3-car race, and it'll make it all that much more difficult.
I don't think Barry Graham, Kim Jane, Max Dumsney, or Ian Thomas have anything for the leader. Those front 3 guys will have to decide this thing amongst them, being O'Brien, Richards, and Faulkner.
See O'Brien then just adjusting the rear vision mirror. He wants to know exactly where Jim is all the time. These cars are pulling 8,000 RPM through the gears and then down the straight in 5th gear. and that's out of a 5.8 litre engine. It just goes to show how hard they can get them to work and hold together.
Jim Richards reels off a lap of 1 minute 4.9 seconds. John Faulkner 1 minute 4.3. So Faulkner pulled 0.6 of a second back from them on that lap.
That'll be just about the fastest time of the day, I would think.
True. O'Brien makes it look very easy through these corners. That wheel's not moving very much. But let's give O'Brien credit. He's a road racer. He's done well at surfers. He's won them.
Here's Richards' move. Here he goes. And he's done it.
Clean as a whistle. Yeah, clean as a whistle.
So Richards did have more. Dick Midgley knew it, and he just said, now's the time. Make your move.
There's something wrong with Charlie's car, I think.
Well, he's not running like he was, that's for sure.
No, he came out of there offline, and he's in the down the centre of the track. No,
way
Charlie's
back.
got a problem.
Faulkner's going to catch him in a minute. Charlie O'Brien may be out of it.
I'd guess he's lost a gear. The way he came off that S at the back, I think he's lost a gear.
Still proceeding, still in the motor race, but certainly dropping back. Dropped back 2 seconds on that lap as they went past the start-finish line, and it all happened in the last 400, 500 metres of the racetrack.
But Charlie O'Brien not up to par at the moment. He led early. He won the first segment of the first 20 laps. Second 20 lapper went to the Dick Midgley car with Jim Richards on board. Now, what's going to happen? Looks like Jim Richards is trying for a clean sweep.
I'll bet money that
Jim Richards is there. Comes Faulkner up alongside.
He's waved him. Charlie's waved him past. That's smart. He knows he can't hold him, so he's waved him past.
And you can tell he waved him that because Faulkner has gone off and is hiding. Yes, hiding away from. Now we'll see if Kim Jane and the rest of them are going to go and indeed go by Charlie O'Brien before this one's over.
Well, Charlie's holding on well in front of Max Dumsney there too.
There he just comes down and comes back off the hill. They'll come down the long straightaway here. And Faulkner is just moving off. He has taken over the number 2 spot, with O'Brien dropping to 3rd. And Barry Graham now is ready to go to work on O'Brien for the 3rd position.
5.5 seconds separates Jim Richards in the lead from John Faulkner in 2nd position. There are just 4.5 laps remaining.
And Charlie O'Brien, difficulty on that car, the Thunderbird. However, he's the only Ford left in the field at this moment. There's a Falcon out there with Gene Cook on board. A lot of Pontiac, Chevrolet, of course, the Chevy Lumina of George Elliott. Oldsmobile for Benzel Mead. That's an Oldsmobile for, no, that's a Chevrolet for Ian Thomas.
Flag lap. John Faulkner is also, he's 2.3 seconds behind Richards. Charlie O'Brien is another 6.7 seconds in arrears. Then Barry Graham, then back Max Dumsney, the defending champion, then Kim Jane, then Ian Thomas, then Graham Smith, then George Elliott in the Optus car, then Denzel Mead, the man who established history this morning by taking pole position in the wet, in 10th position.
Has that been done any time in NASCAR history with wipers and wet tires on a NASCAR automobile, except in Australia. And it was done here yesterday.
One corner remaining now for Jim Richards.
And he's around it.
John Faulkner flings himself into the corner
right
as Richards comes out of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be close. Jim Richards, the crowd stands in the stand. White flag in, checkered flag out. Jim Richards does it. He wins the Thunder at the Creek meeting for NASCAR. It's at Eastern Creek this afternoon.
Fireworks going off.
John Faulkner in 2nd position, just 1.57 seconds in arrears. Charlie O'Brien goes through in 3rd place, then Barry Graham.
Max Dumsney. Kim Jane will be next.
Off and running.
Well, don't forget our NASCAR races on the street circuit up in Queensland either. Yeah.
Well, Alan,
count
you've seen the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit. It's surrounded by concrete both sides. It's a much different proposition than this traditional Grand Prix track on which to run these cars.
Yes, it is. I'm quite sure that Bill France never ever thought that he'd see his cars running around a track like this in Australia.
No, you know, the Surfers is definitely a street race and a road race with a course that is so beautiful.